Billionaire wife trapped poor mute maid in jail to hide her shameful secrets. What happened next? Before Lagos woke, before horns filled the streets, Mary was already awake. Her bare feet moved across cold marble floors, quick and quiet, unseen. She carried trays, folded linen, polished glass. She never spoke. She couldn't. Her silence was her scar. And in this house, ruled by Ruth, the billionaire's dazzling wife, that silence would soon destroy her life. Lagos lay heavy with mist. Generators coughed to life. The lagoon smelled of salt and smoke. Inside the mansion, chandeliers spilled white light across marble floors, sharp, cold, untouchable. Mary touched this world every day, but it was never hers. Sometimes the other maids mocked her. Mute girl, curse girl. But Mary's eyes carried stories no words could hold. Of hunger, of loss, of prayers whispered into nights that never answered. And Ruth, the woman who ruled this house, smiled like a queen in public. But in private, she was thunder. Sharp words, sharp hands, guarding secrets as if they were crown jewels. Mary felt those secrets in the air. Heavy, poisonous, waiting. And one day they would fall. Not on Ruth, but on her. Mary was not always here. She grew up in Ajegunle, where roofs leaked when rain pressed down, where laughter had to wrestle with hunger, where streets smelled of akara frying, smoke rising in open drains. Her father had vanished when she was small. Her mother, Grace, bent over a sewing machine late into the night. Eyes tired, hands raw, but her love fierce. Then fever came. It burned Mary's throat until her voice broke. Forever. The doctors said it would never return. Grace cried at night into her wrapper, but in the day she smiled at Mary. She said, "Your silence is not emptiness. It is depth. One day they will see." But Grace's cough grew heavy. One morning, she didn't wake. The sewing machine stopped. The room turned cold. Mary folded her mother's wrapper under her pillow. It was the only piece of love she had left. At church in Yaba, under the cracked wooden cross, Mary first noticed Julian. He was a driver for the same house. His voice rose steady during hymns. Deep, calm, like rain after long heat. Mary sat at the back, lips moving to songs she could never sing. Her torn hymn book clutched like treasure. Julian noticed her. Not her silence, not her broken voice, but her kindness, how she helped old women up the steps, how she stayed behind a sweet palm fronds no one else cared about. One evening, when the church emptied, Julian lingered. He offered her a bottle of water. Her fingers brushed his as she took it. Her lips curled into a shy, fragile smile. For Julian, it was small. For Mary, it was a miracle. For the first time since her mother's death, she felt seen. Their friendship grew in quiet ways. In the kitchen, where the smell of fried plantain filled the air, Julian slipped her extra bread. At the gate, where insects buzzed around security lights, he waited to walk part of the way home. He studied her silence until he understood it, her laughter without sound, her eyes wide with surprise, her shoulders lifting when she was shy. One night, rain hammered Lagos. They shared one umbrella, too small for two. Water soaked their sleeves. But Mary felt warm. Julian whispered, "You don't need words, Mary. Your silence speaks louder than anyone I know." Her heart trembled. For the first time, she believed she was not broken. But not everyone smiled. Toby, the older maid, pulled Mary aside. Her voice low, her eyes sharp. "Be careful, child. Gold that shines too bright can burn your hand. People like us don't mix with their world." Mary nodded, but her eyes still sought Julian. Hope was dangerous, yet she held it close. The collapse began one morning. Ruth's heels struck the marble. She summoned the staff. Her voice was sharp, her eyes blazing. A diamond necklace, worth millions, was missing. Her finger pointed at Mary. "She was the last in my room. She thinks her silence can hide her theft." Gasps filled the air. Mary shook her head violently. Her hands flew with desperate gestures. But Ruth's voice cut deeper. "Silence cannot save you now." Police stormed her room, tore through her few belongings. And then, the necklace gleamed beneath her thin mattress. Gasps, whispers. Julian stepped forward, trying to protest. But Ruth's authority crushed him. Cold cuffs snapped onto Mary's wrists. She stumbled as they dragged her away. Her bare feet scraped the polished tiles. The mansion gates slammed shut. For the first time, the world truly turned its back. In the cell, darkness pressed in. The floor was hard. The air reeked of damp and sweat. Mary curled on the ground, clutching her mother's wrapper, tears soaking its fabric. The world had branded her a thief, and she had no voice to fight back. Days blurred into weeks, but Mary's spirit did not die. Julian came often. Through the bars, he slipped folded notes. "Hold on. I believe you. I will find the truth." Mary pressed the notes to her chest. Her silence turned into prayer. Then one evening, Mr. Ade appeared. A quiet lawyer, spectacles slipping down his nose. He remembered the mute girl who once helped his frail mother up church steps. He said simply, "I believe you." Together, he and Julian began to dig. They found Ruth's trail. Late-night hotels under false names. Hidden accounts. Secret transfers. The necklace was only a decoy. The truth was darker. Ruth was burying her shame. Bit by bit, the puzzle formed. Documents. Witnesses. Confessions. Mary, once voiceless, now had silent warriors speaking for her. In her cell, she pressed her palm against her heart and vowed, "I will rise, not to destroy, but to be free." The day of court was heavy with heat. Journalists packed the gates. Cameras flashed. The room buzzed. Ruth entered first, elegant, flawless, perfume trailing like armor. Her chin high, her smile rehearsed. Mary entered quietly, hands folded, eyes steady. Evidence dropped one by one. Photographs of Ruth in hotels, bank transfers, testimonies. Then the final blow. The necklace traced to a pawn shop, sold under a false name. Ruth's. The room erupted in whispers. Cameras clicked. Ruth's mask cracked. Her voice trembled. Her lies collapsed under the weight of truth. Mary sat in silence. She did not gloat. She turned only once, to Julian. He nodded. Victory was not in shouting. It was in surviving. The judge's voice rang clear. "Mary is innocent. Ruth, you stand accused." Wealth could not shield Ruth now. Her husband turned cold. Friends vanished. Phone stopped ringing. Headlines once praising her beauty now devoured her name. In her mansion, chandeliers swayed over empty rooms. Silence, once Mary's burden, became Ruth's punishment. Mary walked free. The sun warmed her face. Julian waited at the steps, his eyes wet, his shoulders trembling. Toby hugged her. Her voice cracked but carried warmth. "Child, gold that shines too bright may burn, but you are fire that warms." Mary smiled faintly. Tears blurred her eyes. Her silence was no longer a cage. It was a crown. Weeks later, Mary returned to Ajegunle. Children laughed in narrow alleys. The air smelled of dust and smoke. At the graveyard, she knelt before Grace's resting place. She laid her mother's wrapper gently on the soil. "Mama, I am free. Your daughter is seen." Later, in Yaba Church, she lit a candle with Julian. The flame flickered, small but unyielding. Mary closed her eyes. Peace settled in her chest. She had no voice, but her life spoke louder than words ever could. And in that silence, there was no emptiness, only light,